So welcome back to season 2 of Talking Candid. We've got a very special guest with us, Carl Thompson from Dead Pixel Films. Welcome.
Welcome.
Oh, I got a very special in there. That's kind of you. Thank you very much for having me.
It's all good. It's actually really nice having you because I keep up to date on what you're doing on LinkedIn, and so I see a lot of the work that you do in the creative process, and it's really interesting for me. So it's honestly a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. Yeah, LinkedIn's a huge platform for us. It's a B2B platform, and we spend an awful lot of time creating content for LinkedIn. It's a free platform. We don't spend any money on the platform, but we generate quite a lot of business from it.
Yeah.
And it's just been growing organically over the last few years. So it's a bit of a no-brainer for us to be gobby on LinkedIn. Apologies if I'm always in your feed annoying you, but
no, you're not. I definitely not. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we wanted to invite you on the podcast, and I think you've got a very interesting perspective on both marketing because you do it very well yourself, but also on the video process and how that plays into brands as well. So,
thank you. I try.
It's really interesting with you saying that you've, worked on LinkedIn and you've kind of built your brand. Like, what has worked for you and what hasn't?
Honesty has worked a lot, and just saying that ways. I'm like that personally anyway.
Yeah.
I'm quite a to the point kind of guy. I don't take myself too seriously as well, so that tries to come across a little bit in the content I make. I try and demystify some of the processes, because some people can think creating a TV commercial is like this really big and scary and expensive process, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that. So I'm trying to sort of make it a bit simpler and don't try and put loads of jargon out there for people that don't necessarily work in that world, and just share my journey, my stories. So it's nice for hopefully people get some value out of it, but I can also look back on my journey myself. It's almost like a digital diary, if you will.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago when I started posting content, I can look at that and go, I've actually come on quite far in that time. It's quite a nice moment to reflect on.
Where did that all come from? Because I mean, posting on LinkedIn especially and coming up with different types of content to actually market your business whilst also running a business is like a very hard thing to do. Like, how did you get into the groove of posting consistently and actually posting stuff that made a difference to your network, I guess?
I just make it a priority as part of my day or my week to post some form of content, specifically on LinkedIn. LinkedIn and Instagram are our biggest platforms. And I suppose once you generate some views and some engagement and ultimately some money, it's quite easy to motivate yourself to then do it again the next week or the next month. And I enjoy it. It's a bit of fun. Like, I enjoy creating content. I enjoy working with my clients, shooting videos or writing blogs or writing short stories. So it doesn't feel like a job to me to put a few posts out on LinkedIn. I just do it for fun. And if I get something out of it, happy days. Or if somebody else gets something out of it, that's great. How do I find the motivation to do it? I suppose I gamify it a little bit, and try different things and see what works and what doesn't work, and try and add value somewhere that, if I can give back to this phrase that try and give advice to your younger self, if I can do that and someone somewhere get some benefit out of it, and maybe we can use it for recruitment purposes and we attract the right type of candidates so that we don't spend money on recruitment companies later on down the line, then it just makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really refreshing because there's so much inauthenticity on LinkedIn that it just bores me to tears. I just see people posting for the sake of it to get engagement, but there's just nothing, there's no kind of human element to it. And I think that's where people go wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah, you can see the people that are trying to force it, I guess, and just trying to be very formulaic like somebody else, and it just doesn't read naturally. Or they're doing it because they feel like they have to. Like, I wouldn't necessarily suggest posting every single day. If you've got nothing to say, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's always tomorrow. Yeah. You don't feel like you need to just post some crap because... Do we swear on this podcast, or is this
we
like...
do.
Oh, yeah, he's talking candid,
Okay,
so
cool.
we're completely open.
I've got about 3 minutes I haven't sworn. I feel very great.
I mean, I've probably said worse things on the podcast, to be honest.
We've had
make
to.
the cut.
We've edited quite a lot of stuff out.
Okay. I'll try and bear that in mind.
No, it's fine. You
It's
can
fine.
swear.
But I find it's a really powerful platform.
Yeah.
It is a B2B platform. People are there to be sold to a degree. They understand that people are there to generate business and opportunities and to network, so they don't mind it as much. Whereas other platforms like TikTok, for instance, I think I don't really post on TikTok. I don't really consume content on TikTok.
No.
And I wouldn't go to that platform to generate business for what I do anyway. I might get leads from some American company or some Chinese company because it's a global brand, but that wouldn't translate to a business based in Manchester shooting videos. Really. So I wouldn't put my time into that. Whereas if I put my time into creating content for LinkedIn specifically and make it interesting to my kind of customer, which is generally, account directors for larger advertising agencies or business founders in the sort of the sports, lifestyle, food arenas, then great. They're more likely going to see it. And if I'm front of mind as much as possible, I don't go in with a hard sell at all. I don't DM anybody. I definitely don't drop in with a sales pitch as soon as I've connected with somebody, because people do that to me.
It's awful.
And I hate it, so why would I do it to somebody else?
Yeah.
So our strategy is basically be as vocal as possible about who we are and what we do. And at some point, someone will see it and hopefully say, it could be next week, could be in a month, could be in a year.
Yeah.
They go, you're the guys that do that thing quite well. I'd like to work with you guys.
Yeah.
And that has happened on countless occasions. So we just kind of keep doing that. I'm by no means a LinkedIn expert, by the way. I've never done any training or anything like that. I just do what works for me.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of been blagging it and figuring it out as I go along.
Do you often find that radiates through your team as well? Like they see you posting regularly and they see you sharing the business's content, so they follow suit, or is it?
They're certainly trying to. So me and my business partner, Kieran, we do it because we're the owners of the company and it's... We've built up a bit of a following together, so that's kind of worked out well. And they do see the benefit in that as individuals, as staff members. There's 7 of us, so it's not like the biggest team in the world. But I still think some of them find it a bit cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
And they do find it a bit difficult or
Yeah.
braggy almost
Yeah.
to be talking about themselves, or they struggle to get over maybe insecurities in some cases, or that it's not really them. And if it's not really them, that's fine. I would never force anybody to share anything about their life or their work if they don't want to. I don't really care. I've kind of got over that insecurity, or I'm worried about how my voice sounds on camera. Like, I just don't care anymore. I probably did a long time ago, but I'm just over it.
Yeah.
It comes with age and experience as well, doesn't it? I think, the longer you're in this and the more you do it, the more you realise that nobody cares. And if they do, then fuck them.
Nice. Well, everyone's got their own lives to lead.
Yeah,
Everyone's got tunnel vision, and everyone is doing their own thing, worried about themselves. They're not concerned about everyone else. So I don't know why you concern yourself about other people.
No, I used to be like it a lot on LinkedIn. Like when I've been a LinkedIn user for so long, and when I first started thinking about posting, I would cringe at myself and I would be like, no, why would someone want to read that? What if my MD sees it? What if a director sees it and they judge me for it? Or they're like... And I think at one point I did post like years and years ago. I think this is the early days when I was in my apprenticeship in marketing, and I posted something on LinkedIn, and one of the commercial directors said, "Oh, that seems like you're gonna like leave the company and go somewhere else." I'm like, "No," because it was just a post about like my experience and like what I'd done and what I'd achieved, and he judged me for it. So I was always conscious about posting and seeing.
So you thought you were almost like a threat, like you were building up your own personal brand, and then you might leave to go do your own business.
Exactly, yeah. So I felt like really defensive, like early on, like I can't really be doing this and saying that and doing that. And the only time I felt like really comfortable with it was like a couple of years ago when I started to post more regularly and see how it works, really, yeah.
Does it work for you as a business to be posting regularly?
I wouldn't say like I've seen any kind of like business come from it. I've definitely had messages from people interested in having like a chat about like, oh, what you could do for us. Like some people have seen some of the Prolific North articles that we've had posted from either a new acquisition or a new service offering that we've added. But it's never really, I don't think it's really like gone anywhere and turned into new business.
So why do you do it?
I think I'm chasing that kind of like, I want to build a personal brand, and I've heard from others that they do get business from it. And I guess I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to get it right, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I feel like I've got something to say. So when I feel like that, I'll say it, but I'm less consistent. I'm kind of a behind the scenes kind of person.
Yeah.
But I
You're
think
more of a consumer than a creator.
I'm more of a consumer than a creator, but I'm trying to flip that switch because, you know, previously I felt like I didn't have the authority to say anything within the industry, but that's changing. And, you know, like I've actually got an opinion now. So I think, you know, it's definitely worth sharing.
I think that's an absolutely fair comment. I probably felt a similar way. If I was a camera operator for a year, it's unlikely I'm going to be able to be posting content about how to be a successful camera operator.
Yeah.
I've literally just started.
Yeah.
And who are you speaking to? If you are going to probably be looked down on a little bit, that you've not got any value or wisdom or anything to say. I'm a little bit older now. I've been in the industry I've been self-employed for 11 years now. So I've finally probably got something to say, which is why I'm happy to say it.
Yeah.
But that's taken a long time to build up to that point. It does feel weird to hear from, I don't want to be ageist, but like a 21-year-old apprentice about how to be a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It is a bit weird.
Just, you know, and they're probably trying to sell you a course as well because they're
Yeah.
trying to make a short-term win. And most people can see right through it, and it's for a short-term gain. I'd rather listen to somebody who's got a little bit of life experience and has got something who's lived a little bit.
Yeah, some battle scars.
Completely agree.
So, Carl, for the listeners, do you want to just tell us a little bit about who you are and your experience and what you do day to day?
Yes, this isn't a LinkedIn podcast.
No, it's not.
We digress.
That's just how we met, I guess. So,
Yeah.
absolutely. My name's Cal Thompson, and I run a video production agency called Dead Pixel, and we produce video and photography content for sports, lifestyle, and food brands. One of our biggest clients is Premier Foods, so we do YouTube pre-roll ads for Mr. Kipling, Bachelors, Ambrosia, all their the array of brands that they own. We work with the likes of MyProtein, Subaru. We have a retainer contract with BBC Food, so we create 8 recipe videos for them every single month. So if you've go on their Instagram channel or their website, we come up with the concepts, we develop the recipe ideas, we test it, we shoot it, and we edit it all in our studio in South Manchester.
It's very
Brilliant.
cool.
And how did all of that start? Like, obviously that's a lot of stuff you've gone over, and that's a lot of like amazing clients. Like, where did Dead Pixel begin, and like what drove you to start a business with your partner, I guess? Yeah.
I mean, I've always been interested in cameras ever since I was a teenager. I'll try and skip over this because it's not...
it's probably a long story.
It's probably a long story. But I basically used to shoot Jackass videos and World War II short films when
Oh,
I was
really?
I love
a
that.
teenager. Yeah, like me and my brother used to set our hand on fire and slap each other in the face.
No way.
13 years old, and I was filming it, and my parents like, that's not really why we bought you the camera. But I don't know, for like somebody of my age, like Jackass was a huge thing growing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
It was
And
for us,
Just
yeah.
loved it. So we were just big fans. So that's how we started, and then it kind of blossomed into more short films. I went to university, studied film production technology, and did a 4-year degree. Just making films, being in the studio. I did 1 essay in 4 years. So very hands-on, very practical. After that, I became a technician. Basically, I did have a summer job. I did have a job for about 2 years after university, which wasn't in film production, but I was a marketing rep for a summer camp organisation. And because I used to be a sailing instructor and a kayak instructor in Canada and America when I was a
that's
student.
cool.
So that was my summers when I was a student. I used to travel, teach, and worked at summer camp. You might have heard like Camp America. It was a similar type
I've
of vibe
heard of
to
Camp
that.
America. Yeah.
So I got a marketing job for those guys, a full-time job. Moved to Manchester blindly with a few mates, and started freelancing on the side. So I was shooting wedding videos, corporate videos, basically anything I could get my hands on. I didn't know anybody in Manchester, so I had to just start from scratch. I was delivering Chinese food in an evening, and I had a full-time job as well. So for 2 years, I had 3 jobs.
Wow.
And I had to work hard. I was trying to, live a little bit, build up the equipment and build up the network to eventually go freelance. So that journey took me 2 years. I eventually went and became a freelance camera operator. So I had a couple of cameras, and I would just message other video production companies in the north and just say, I've got a few cameras. This is kind of my experience. Here's a bit of a show reel. If you need extra support, let me know. And here's my day rate. And that just I did quite well with that for probably about 4 years. And, I invested in more equipment. I worked on bigger and better projects. I think it's just a case of working hard and being a nice person.
Yeah.
And knowing what the buttons do on the camera was kind of all I needed to do at that time. I did a lot of stuff with Man United, Man City, just being based here in the city. And each job just blossomed and snowballed into the next one because I'd meet somebody who'd then refer me on to the next person. And it became a lot of word of mouth. I was I was posting on LinkedIn and Instagram at that point, just here's a behind the scenes picture of the back of a camera, or here's the back of my head working on this project.
Yeah.
And just being front of mind. So I did do the whole LinkedIn thing from quite a young age, I suppose.
Okay.
Eventually I kind of got, it's going to sound wanky, but it kind of got a little bit too easy for me, where I was a technician. I would just turn up, I would set up the lights, I would press record, I'd hand over the footage, and then here's my invoice by the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting much creative fulfillment from those projects anymore. So I needed to try and do something. I wanted to try and do something else. I wanted to pitch creative ideas, wanted to be part of bigger productions. And for me, it seemed like the only opportunity was to set up a production company so that I could have a team of people around me, so I could scale the business, so I could go on holiday and still earn money, basically, and set up a brand. And that brand became Dead Pixel.
That's cool. So what was the favourite thing that you've ever shot?
I mean, there's absolutely loads. I went to Gambia in Africa and shot with a bunch of kids there who were part of an orphanage. It was for a charity shoot where we basically saw where the money that was being raised in the UK was being spent, and just to make a case study out of it. So that was a really rewarding experience, to go on that kind of journey and see these kids. And all they wanted to do was just play football. And they didn't want for anything. They just wanted to hang out, play football. They had, a slice of bread and some mayonnaise for the breakfast. So it was a tough life to see. But they was the happiest kids I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So that was a beautiful experience. It was just humbled me so fast.
Yeah.
It made me realize that the things we take for granted in this country is insane.
Yeah.
So that was really nice. And I did a show, like a YouTube show not too long ago, where we followed a racing driver through a load of grassroots racing experiences, basically.
Oh, wow.
And we got to travel the world. We went to Norway, Italy, Ireland, Sweden, and a couple of other places. But we basically went to northern Sweden for a project, and we shot ice driving on a frozen lake.
Wow, that's
It
cool.
was, it was minus
That's
10 degrees
awesome.
outside. We were filming for a few days. And my job was to sit in the back of a tracking vehicle with a boot open, holding onto a gimbal as the guys came sideways around these tracks and just get as close to me as possible.
I bet you had loads of batteries that just died because of the cold.
Oh, yeah. Certainly the smaller cameras that we used, the
Yeah.
batteries would last 3 minutes,
Yeah,
when normally they're supposed to last an hour.
exactly. Yeah.
And then I would have to wear them, basically. So I put the batteries in my ski jacket and
okay.
keep them close to my body. And that way the body heat would be able to make the battery last longer for when I put it into the camera. But it's hard to communicate with a driver coming around at 60 miles an hour saying, my battery's gone down. Can you just hold on a second there? You just switch it fast.
Yeah.
We worked with James Dean, who's the world drifting champion.
Oh, no way.
And that was in Ireland. He was amazing. He's like the coolest dude in the world. So we were on a racing track in Ireland, and he'd be able to drift an entire racetrack. So even on the straight, he's drifting, which is
cool.
bizarre to watch and see. And I remember sitting in the back of this tracking vehicle. I've got like a helmet on and a full body harness and stuff. It's obviously safe, but my feet are kind of on the side, like hanging over. I just said, get as close to me as you dare. And he took it very literally. He came around the corner, got so close, touched my feet and dropped off.
No way.
And this is like 60 miles an hour. But he's a professional driver. Like,
Yeah.
it's obviously I was bricking it.
I mean,
when
you
it
kind of
happened.
asked for it there.
I asked for it, and my adrenaline just went through the
Yeah.
roof. And he was just in the car pissing himself. But he's so skilled, he can drift around a pint glass.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
we're just
impressive.
hanging out with these types of people on a day-to-day basis. It's just like, is this really my job?
That's really cool.
It was so fun. He's a racing driver for a bunch of movies. He's worked with Michael Bay, where it's 6 Underground
Yeah.
movie with Ryan Reynolds. So he's the drifting driver basically at the start of the movie. And I think someone got in touch with James just through Facebook, messaged him and just said, we're producing this movie. You look like a good driver. Do you want to come and be on this feature with Ryan Reynolds? He's like, that's spam. But it wasn't. It was legit. They flew him out,
Yeah.
put him in a car that was the steering wheel on the other side of the car. So he wasn't used to driving that way around. Michael Bay gets in and goes, go on then, what have you got?
No way.
And he just went for it and went, okay, you're in.
That's
And that's how he got in the
wicked.
movie. So it's just,
That's cool.
James is telling us these stories as we're having a Guinness off the back of this shoot, just hanging out. And
Have you ever had any aspirations to like get into film? Because with like just a bit of context, like with some of my background, like early days when I started in marketing, I did a lot of video production work for social media. So that was like shooting car wraps, shooting like anything, did some weddings for a couple of mates, probably similar to yourself. But I always had the aspiration to make a film, like a feature-length film. Have you ever had that thought? Or?
Absolutely. I wanted to be the next Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
I think, or Steven Spielberg or whoever. That was always my plan when I was younger, when I was going to university. But then you leave university and you go, well, now what? How do you get there? What do you do? And that's not really taught. I don't think anyone really knows because there's no one right path for that journey. Everyone's path is different. I fundamentally needed to make a living. So I think I fell into more commercial productions.
Yeah.
It was a faster journey to some form of success, I suppose. Yeah. And like, I didn't even go down the traditional camera, like runner, camera assistant, camera operator, DOP route, which you would probably see in commercials. I just skipped all that out and one day just said, I'm a director of photography. So I'm like the head of the camera department. And people just went, okay. And like now I employ camera assistants and lighting teams and gaffers and stuff. And they'll look to me from like a leadership point of view. I didn't do that traditional route where I worked my way up. So there's probably certain things I won't know about a camera that a camera assistant might know. But I don't need to know all those things. Maybe one day I'd like to do a feature. That would be amazing. I'd love to do like a documentary.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a feature documentary that gets picked up by Netflix or Amazon Prime that makes a difference to the world. What that is, I don't really know yet. I've not really found a topic, maybe something within sport or maybe something within the environment, just because that's what I'm personally passionate about outside of making food videos.
Yeah.
So I think my journey will be, yes, I'm going to make a feature film at some point. I want to build Dead Pixel with Kieran to a point where we can financially support ourselves and make a feature film within our own team.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the kit, we've got the team, and we'll do it alongside commercial projects where we can still pay our mortgages and stuff without having to take, because I've seen loads of people that might take investment from somebody or take a big loan, make a feature film and it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
And then they're just crippled for 20 years trying to pay that back or just doing it on a hope and a prayer. And I think you need to build up an audience and following and the contacts in the network before you can go ahead and do that. Unless you're so skilled and you get lucky. I think it's rare.
That's really interesting to me because it's like when you take a look at today's filmmakers that are out there commercially, I always wonder, like, did they have aspirations as a younger kid or in their early days to actually just make films and do something a bit more creative? But obviously, no one really teaches you, like you say, to kind of say, well, once you leave university, it's not like you get a job in Hollywood and you can make a film. Like, you need to take those steps to kind of like earn a living and go up and then figure out later on in life, well, how can I actually make a feature film? Unless you're very lucky and you have someone who works in the film industry is willing to give you a shot, I guess. But that's really interesting.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, universities, as amazing as they are as an experience, they don't tee people up for the working world.
No. I
From what I can see. And I go back to LinkedIn again. I posted something about how to write a cold email. And I did it as a short form video. I posted this because we get between 5 and 10 emails a day from entry-level, graduates or entry-level freelancers looking for job opportunities. Because we're very open with our branding, people go, that's cool. Can I come and work with you? And I see so many copy-paste jobs which are impersonal and they're just terrible. So I decided to do something about it. I sort of ripped it apart and then reframed it, said, try this. And this is a better way to write a personalized intro email. It's much more important to do 5 emails a day than 100 copy-paste jobs if you're looking for opportunities. And that post kind of did really well because I was trying to get sick of it, to be honest. And I just wanted to try and do something about it. And ironically, literally, as soon as that video went live, about an hour later, I got somebody with a, "Dear sir or madam," email. I really like your work. Have you got any jobs going? And I was like, I've just posted something where I said, don't do that. And unfortunately, right now, I have no choice but to just delete it and report it as spam.
Yeah.
And I get why people do it. They're looking for opportunities. Everyone's hustling at the moment. You need to be seeking out opportunities. They're not going to come to you. But make an effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's so important. We receive so many spam emails a day.
Yeah, we do.
And I just can't imagine a time where it's ever worked. Like, you've just got to learn and evolve, haven't you? And people who cold email. They've just not evolved yet.
I think, you know, where I've seen it like really work is like if it's a genuine connection and someone who's not trying to pitch to you from the get-go, and they're really doing their research into who you are and what you do and the company you work for, and then giving a bit of an introduction about yourself. Like I was talking to a guy on LinkedIn yesterday. I probably made the stupid mistake of posting, "Oh, we're looking for freelance developers for a project." So like my inbox was like hundreds of people from all across the world saying, "Oh, we can help you, we can help you, we can help you." And then I had people calling my phone. I'm like, "How'd you get my number?" And I just literally was like, this was such a bad idea. And then like last night I had someone reach out and just say like, "Yo, Dave, you know, if you don't find anyone, let me know. I've got a few contacts." And he was like, "Hope you're well and good to connect with you." And I was like, "Oh, it's just another guy trying to sell to me." And I was like, "Oh, thank you very much." And it snowballed into a conversation. He was like, "I'm not trying to sell anything to you. I'm not a developer myself. I just work for an agency that has worked with developers. So if you need help, just let me know." And we just went into this like chat. And I was saying to him, I was like, the frustrating part about connecting with people online these days and the frustrating part about networking is that everyone's trying to get the bag immediately. And then everyone else has got their guard up and they're like, everyone's going to sell to me. I don't want to talk to you. And then you don't connect. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah. Don't sell.
No, help.
Help. Yeah, help, don't sell. The sale will come.
Yeah.
With time. I think people lack patience with that. Or they'll post a few things and then go, "Well, I've not got anything out of it. I'm not going to bother anymore."
Yeah.
And it's like, no, mate, this is going to take 6 months to a year at least before you've gained any form of traction. And you do have to have some form of consistency. You can't leave it months and months and months.
No.
You know, you need to be turning up and be present. Same with the gym, you know, it's exactly the same thing. If you turn up to the gym every week or a couple of times a week, you will see progress over time. If you turn up once a month, you're not going to see anything.
Yeah.
And I think of it exactly the same way.
Yeah, completely agree.
So I've just come back from Tunisia. There's a guy called the Hardest Geezer that you might have seen on the news or on social.
Everywhere.
Yeah, we've been following
He's got a lot
him.
of heat. So he's been running the entire length of Africa. He's done over 300 marathons, over 300 days, absolute savage athlete. And he put out a thing to his fans online that said, I'm coming into Tunisia on this date.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be running a marathon on this day. If anyone wants to join, these are the coordinates. And he didn't really think anything of it. Maybe 100 people would turn up. And one of my friends sent it to me and said, "You like running from time to time. I've booked flights. Do you want to go?" And like
No
an hour
way.
later, I was like, "I'm coming." And so we booked flights, and then we somehow found a WhatsApp group that was kind of circling the running internet kind of.
Yeah.
And more information was getting put in there. So it started off with 30 of us. And by the end of the trip, there's 350 people
No
in this
way.
WhatsApp group, all talking about where to go, you know, the experiences, trying to figure out all, you know, some of the lads in there and lasses were just incredible people. And they'd organise like buses to get us to the coordinates of where we were going to meet. So I ended up running a half marathon. I didn't want to do the full because it was 29, 30 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
Which is hot if you're not conditioned for it. If
Yeah.
you've been
It's hot.
I've got my winter skin on.
Yeah.
From being in rainy Manchester, I wasn't quite ready for it. So I did the half and then absolutely bloody loved it.
Yeah.
So we got onto the bus with all these random strangers. Like I became really good friends with this Moroccan guy who flew in. People flew in from America, all over Europe.
Wow.
And we just started chatting and we just get to this coordinate. We waited for them and then the Hardest Geezer and a couple of people that had done the full marathon kind of turned up.
No way.
We gave them more water. They had a little sit down and he's like, "Right, you guys ready to go?" I'm like, okay. Like, we got the bladder on because you got to carry all your water. It was an unsupported race. Like we're just running over sand dunes. We're running through farmers' fields, off tracks and just trying to get to the coast, basically.
Wow.
So you had to take all your supplies with you, which I've never done before. I've done the Manchester Marathon a few years ago, but people are handing out sweets and bottles of water, so you didn't really worry about it. This time you had to carry everything with you. And, people were running out of water fast. And it was just one of the best experiences I've ever done. It's hands down one of the best things I've ever done this year.
That's amazing.
And it's a highlight
Give
of
me
my
goosebumps.
just to be able to run with that guy. And I was on the front row with him. I probably ran with him for like within the pack for about 15k, keeping pace with me. He was going way faster than he's done any of his other marathons.
Wow.
I don't know. I think he was just excited by the people. And
Nice.
So people are trying to work out how fast is he going to go, looking at his Strava and seeing, okay, this guy's done 85 kilometers a day for the last month. He can't be going that fast because he's going to be in bits. So he's trying to work out what his pace is going to be, and like, I'll be fine. I've never run before. I'm going to keep up with him, and all these conversations going. And when we got to the marathon, he just put his foot down. So he was going 6 minutes a kilometre when we thought it was going to be more like 7.5.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're into running, but for those that run, that was quite fast for
it's really fun.
for a marathon. So we kept up with him, and we were just like chatting, taking pictures. We took a few breaks every so often because it was so hot, and it was more to let other people catch up. Because the race was just spread out. Everyone got different skill sets and different fitnesses and abilities. So then we'd let them catch up, have a little breather, and then do another 10K until we got to the coast. And I don't know, I'm still kind of coming down from it, to be honest.
That's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like that's part of history now.
Yeah.
Because the way it's been received and the way it's going to be marked in history it's amazing.
I think there should be a
achievement.
documentary about it. I'm not sure if there is something in the works.
Yeah.
But, if it comes out on Netflix in a year, I'll be watching it.
yeah.
Why don't you message him? Get in there, mate. That could be a documentary that you make.
Yeah. Oh, can we go back and film it? Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, he's been documenting it on his YouTube channel. Vlogging the whole experience. He's been raising money for charity. He's been aiming to get £1 million for a couple of different charities. And the donations just spiked in the last week because he's now finished. And he's been doing a lot more press. He's been getting on Good Morning Britain and Lad Bible have shared a load of posts about him and all these different sponsors. And his donations have gone up and up and up. I think he's probably right now doing all podcasts and different things just to try and get to that £1 million.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
But he's just an absolute savage athlete to be able to be running 85 kilometers. These are the extremes because he's trying to make up time, but he would do 85 kilometers a day for a week before he did the marathon with us.
It's unfathomable.
And
it's amazing.
Most people do 85k and be off for a month.
Yeah.
Most people can't do 85k. That normal person can't do a marathon. So you have to train. He did train a lot. Like he trained for a good year before that, doing 20, 40k a day. He's already done some pretty big challenges where he's gone from Istanbul to London. So he is an ultra runner.
Wow.
He is conditioned for it. But to put it out to the fans, and
that's awesome.
Most spontaneous thing I've ever done, I think.
I know.
Other than proposing.
When I saw you post, I was like, I can't believe that's just awesome. Like you just at one point you're in Manchester and now you're running in Tunisia.
Yeah.
Like just mind blown.
You gotta take these opportunities when they come, haven't
That's
you?
awesome.
So, how important would you say video is for businesses?
Can you picture a day in your life where you haven't probably watched a video?
No,
Literally no.
As sad as that sounds, and video can cover everything, in my opinion. It could be a 10-second short piece of content. It could be a 30-second TV ad. It could be a 10-minute long form ad. It could be, a 10-part Netflix series. They're all videos, in my opinion. And that's just I think human beings have just got to a point where we're so busy that we need to take on information, and video has just become an easy, obvious way to take on visual and audio information in the fastest amount of time. So I think for businesses to not be a part of that is just bananas.
Yeah. Have you seen like businesses that want to do video but are on the fence about it, and you're like, well, this is what would happen if you did video? Do you kind of go through that type of detail with some companies a lot of the time, or?
Never. So where we're positioned as a production agency is we never ever sell video.
Yeah.
Which is a great position to be in.
That is a good position.
It's a good position to be in.
Well, you'll see on our branding, our website, we never talk about ROI.
Yeah.
We never really talk about price other than the price of the studio hire, because that's kind of like a fixed asset. We don't have to sell that you need a video.
Yeah.
To the kind of customers that we work with, the people that we attract, they already know they need a video. They just don't know how to do it. So it's a little bit easier for us in that sense. It's taken a long time to get there, and I've had many conversations in the past where I've had to try and persuade people to get video and the why and the benefits of it. But I've not done that for years, thankfully.
Wow.
I think people almost have seen the benefits themselves just by consuming content themselves. That conversation has changed. So now it's more about, okay, how do we use this budget to the best of our ability, basically? What can we do with this budget to make the best possible product in the time frame and that's on brief?
Do you still get people asking you, can you do a £2,000 video or a £500 video? Do you still get those tire kickers?
Sometimes, yeah. Very, very rarely. Like we tend not to touch a project less than $5,000.
Yeah.
For the size of the company that we are. But honestly, no, not. I think we've scared those people off essentially.
Nice.
And that comes down to the power of brand. I think we've spent an awful lot of time on the company's brand, on the positioning. Not that I have any experience in it. I've just done this organically. My business partner has a lot more experience in brand. We've kind of combined our skill sets to go, how do we want to sit within the market? What's our tone of voice? And make sure the work that we're putting out there is going to attract those other opportunities. We don't really do your £500 videos.
Yeah.
So we're not sharing like highlight videos of an event or wedding videos. I mean, because we don't do those types of projects because we're not creatively fulfilled by those anymore.
No.
Yeah.
So we don't attract those types of opportunities. We do the foodie stuff and the sports stuff and the bigger TV ads, and we market those, and they attract more of those types of jobs. If we don't have them, we'll do them for free as spec concepts and use them as training and marketing material for ourselves.
Yeah.
And we'll then market that, which will then inadvertently attract an opportunity like that.
Do you know what I always find interesting about video? It's that distribution's just as important as the video itself. I mean, I've worked with clients who've got great videos, but they've just not executed it in the right way. What advice do you have for businesses when they've got a video? Where should it go? How should it get in front of people?
Yeah, this conversation needs to happen at the creative briefing stage. The worst thing you can do is make a video and put it on YouTube without a strategy or a plan.
Yeah.
It will get 2 views.
Yeah.
And you go, well, that was a waste of money. And because you haven't got a strategy, you haven't got a plan. It's obviously going to fall on its ass. Like the conversation about who's going to see it, how it's going to be seen, how much paid media we're going to put behind it needs to be had at the creative briefing stage, and just work out, what platforms we're using. If it's YouTube pre-roll, if it's TikTok, if it's TV, how much media is going behind it, and who's going to see it, and what's the target market. That all needs to be addressed way in advance. It's not something we do personally. It's probably more likely what you guys do.
Yeah.
In terms of that targeting and the strategy and working it out, we purely focus on production, but we'll partner with agencies like yourselves and work out, okay, who's seeing it and what are their interests, and make sure the content is tailored to that, so that when you're pushing out the paid media, it's hitting the right people.
Yeah.
You can't just spray and pray and target everybody, because it's probably a waste of your budget.
Yeah.
So that needs thinking, and that needs a specialist team to do properly.
I've definitely seen that, because like I've been internal, like not just agency side, and the business has had like loads of great video content that they spent a fortune on, and like you say, they've just posted it on YouTube, and that's something that I resonate massively with, because I'm like, even the little things matter: the title, the thumbnail, where it's going, the strategy behind the spend, the target audience, who you're actually showing the video content to. And I think that's like, you probably don't have that problem as much, because you've got like, good companies, big companies that work with you who have got all of that stuff figured out. And I guess if you're working with an agency like ourselves, you kind of have that direction as well, but you've probably been through a lot yourself as well. So that's really interesting to hear as well.
I'd probably just talk somebody out of it.
Yeah.
And whilst it'll cost me short term financially, because I basically said, save your money. There's been loads of conversations we've had that where people have come to us and said, want to make a video, don't know what we're going to do with it. Maybe our friends and family are going to watch it. It's like, that's not a business. That's not a marketing strategy. So I'll talk them out of it. I'll say, come back to me when you've got a bit of a plan. And you've got a person that can do the strategy for you and figure it out and then do the paid media, or you can do it yourself and then we'll do the production. But don't waste your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had, like, in my previous agency, I worked with a client who sold glitter. And
what's the market for that? Everybody, or is that big?
It was big, but it was very aggressive, because glitter's not very good for the environment. So it was a bit unethical to sell it. But for one of the social media videos that they wanted me to push out, it was a Christmas video and they all had guns. It was really bizarre. And I was like, you've just wasted your money creating a video and we can't use it because it's got guns in it and it violates the like meta policy. So we just had to scrap it. And they just had a video of them running around with guns in front of a Christmas tree for glitter. It was just, it was bizarre. It was really bizarre.
First thing I'm quite gobsmacked that was sort of got through the creative briefing process to be made, and no one went, hold the thought, guys, is this a good idea? But that's where you need to bring a professional in, somebody who has experience, say, these are the rules, you can't, certainly if you're going to put any money behind it, any kind of paid media, or is this going to be damaging for the brand in any way, shape or form? Like we do TV commercials with pets and you need to have a vet on set. And that's and they need to sign a document, which then Clearcast will then ask for to be able to know that that pet or that animal has been treated correctly for that production for it to go live. If I didn't have a vet on a set and I got it all the way through to the media stage, and where's the document? The ad doesn't go live.
Wow.
You know, you could spend £100,000 on a TV ad, but unless if there's a pet in it and you haven't got a vet on set, it doesn't go live. So you only figure those things out by working with teams that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a very, very costly mistake.
Yep.
Yeah. So what other mistakes would you say that businesses make that kind of kill video?
Okay, probably the biggest one that I've seen is when it sort of designed by committee. So any kind of project, obviously we need a brief. We need to work out how we're going to do this project within the allocated budget of the allocated time, and we just want to make something great. Everyone just wants to make something great. That's all their intentions. But sometimes it can go down a bit of a windy road. This is not just video. This is any project. This could be a web design. This could be baking a cake. Could be anything. If there's literally too many cooks, it will get ruined.
Yeah.
So I'd say from
Definitely.
a business needs to have a couple of key decision makers involved, because the last thing you want to do is get to the sort of version 4 and go, right, we're pretty much there. And that the cleaner's husband watches it and goes, I don't really like the music. I was like, I'm sorry, but why are you getting involved now? Like,
Yeah.
we need to have those key decision makers will make the call. We don't need 16, 20 people chipping away at it, because everyone will have an opinion, or because they're getting paid, they'll feel like they need to have an opinion.
Yeah.
And then it can sort of tweak and change. And before you know it, it looks nothing like the original brief. And that it just knackers everyone out.
Yeah.
Changing it all the time. Like, so I would just say, try and have a few core people involved, and we'll make a call on what the decision is, and we stick with that and we move on, and have obvious deadlines as well, making sure we're not overrunning, because it can just kill people's creativity and spirit a little bit. So
Yeah.
another obvious mistake is assuming video costs a lot of money. Making any kind of assumption. Productions used to cost a lot. Years ago, you used to have massive teams of 30 and big film cameras and big heavy tungsten lights, but technology and skills have evolved over time, and you don't need necessarily as many people or as much tech to be able to achieve something pretty impressive. Like Sky AdSmart puts does targeted TV commercials, which can be regional, based on people's interests and stuff. So you do a TV commercial and they can cost between 10 and 20 grand to produce something. Then you put 5-10 grand behind the media and you've got a targeted ad that's going out on telly, which might have cost 10 times that, 20 years ago. So things have changed a lot.
Yeah, you've even got, I don't know if you know about this or not, but there's one of the directors behind, I think, one of the Godzilla films, I think is Gareth Edwards, I think his name is. He's just made a film that was entirely shot on the Sony FX3.
Yes, indeed.
And so that's incredible. And I know his style is a little bit more like run and gun and just kind of winging it and have a rough script. But I think the perception in video is that you have to have these giant cameras and it's all about the camera. But actually, in fact, it's about the people behind it, the creative thinking behind it. I've seen people in video pictures say, oh, well, we use this camera, we use this audio, we've got all the gear. But then you sit there thinking, well, they've got no idea.
Yeah.
It's not play on the fun, but
absolutely. It's all about the idea, and it's all about the creativity behind it. Like a camera's a tool. Years ago, it used to matter. You used to have to have a decent bit of kit, and to a point, you kind of look more serious. You've obviously invested in that area. You're skilled and you can deliver. That was important. We have a Red Gemini. It's £25,000 camera, but we're not really there bragging about it and go, use us because we've got this camera. It's just use us because we can deliver on the brief and we've got a camera that will shoot it at a high spec for you. But we've got an FX3 as well. Amazing camera, shoots 4K footage. You can shoot a feature film on it. Yeah, they had anamorphic lenses on it to make it look a bit nicer. And they had a skilled art department and skilled visual effects guys who've obviously lit everything. So the production team, we've lit it very well, and the skilled visual effects guys to sort of add in all the extra CGI effects at the end. But ultimately, it comes down to the people behind the camera and the story. Yeah. Any type of content. What is the story? A 10-second ad can have a story. A 10-minute video can have a story. An hour-long feature film can have a story. It's just what is the point? Like, any video needs to have a point. And we always say it needs to either entertain, engage, or inform. And if it doesn't do one of those three things, don't bother. Unless you're, and if you need help figuring that out, speak to a professional team, and they will figure it out.
You know, one of the interesting questions that I had, because the whole industry has been thrown into this whirlwind of AI, and it's affected probably like every industry in the world. You know, it's affected marketing, it's affected SEO, it's affected paid media, it's affected how people write content, it's affected how people produce content. And I think the general consensus is it's here to stay, and there's nothing we can do about it, and it's going to continually get better and better and better. I saw some quite interesting clips from, I think it's called Sora, and it's a version of AI that can create video content that looks semi-realistic with a text prompt. What are your thoughts on the developments of AI in the video industry, and do you think that it's going to be something that threatens people's careers? Or
potentially, yeah. I think it's scary how good AI has got in the last year. Like 2023, it was absolutely garbage. 24, it's looking pretty good, and we're all like, uh-oh. So I can see why people are threatened by it. I'm still trying to figure out myself as to how it works for a commercial brand.
Yeah.
So I don't know about Sora AI specifically, but I know certain AI platforms basically scrape the internet of content, whether it's video or photo, and they kind of mash it together, and they're with huge copyright impeachments there and breaches, and then kind of mix it all up and then go, here you go, here's a piece of content, which Nike could never do that, surely. I know Under Armour recently did it, where they said, we made this production using entirely AI, and all the people in the comments went ballistic because they're like, that looks like my content I shot. I've not given you permission to use this. And they then mashed it all up into another piece of it, and they got absolutely slaughtered. And I think it's too right as well.
Yeah.
Because they're basically stealing people's work, their creative ideas, and their copyrighted content, and then making it their own, which is rubbish. You can't use a Beyonce track in a piece of content for a commercial game without paying the license fee for it. It's just stealing. It's piracy.
Yeah.
So unless they can figure that out and work out what are the laws and how to pay people fairly, I don't think it's necessarily going to affect content creation from a video and photography point of view, certainly for commercial brands. Where we use AI all the time is mainly for like mood boards and references.
Yeah.
So when we're trying to sell in the idea of a commercial, I'm not a storyboard artist. So we'll like pull in Shutterstock clips or like, you know, bits from the internet. I go kind of like this, and then clients can get caught up and go, well, I didn't really think she was going to be blonde, or I don't like that door handle. It's like, well, it's
a concept.
It's a reference. Like we haven't shot it yet. Like, you know, that's going to be in a few weeks. But some people get so caught up with it. AI can then put something that's a bit more closer to what you're actually going to do as a reference to then go away, and that will never go live, but then go away and then do it for real. I can see huge benefits for that. Or like, you know, in Adobe Premiere, we use AI for subtitling purposes, for instance. Whereas even like 3 or 4 years ago, we'd have to do a long form piece of content, and we'd either have to touch type it ourselves to write out the subtitles, or we'd send it off to a company. There's a company called Rev.com, and they basically had touch typers all over the world that would play out a video, and they would type it out for you and then send it back. And you could do it in multiple languages. You can now do it all in Adobe Premiere. And even a year ago, it wouldn't be able to pick up like a northern accent. Now it can. And it's moved so fast, and it's pretty bang on. You still have to proof it. You can't just put it out live because it'll still miss bits of slang for now. You might catch it eventually. You still want to make sure it's correct. But those companies that used to do all the subtitling, they've probably gone under. So there have been cases where AI has replaced people, unfortunately, or businesses. And it's a case of us figuring out, okay, where do we sit within that? How do we use AI as a tool to make, you know, better content faster or whatever it is, without us all just kind of like having to retrain and do something else.
Yeah.
Because people are using AI now, and like, going back to LinkedIn again, using AI to create LinkedIn posts and to then comment on posts for the people and go,
it's so cheesy.
It's so inauthentic. It's so damaging. And the comments are the same, and it's obvious. And the LinkedIn post is clearly written by ChatGPT.
The emojis.
It's like,
the emoji bullet points. I actually posted about this yesterday, how infuriating and sickly it is.
Yeah. In what ways is that social? Social media is about people and brands and businesses communicating with each other and trying to be as authentic as possible. If you're using prompts to create content, you're just lying to your audience.
Yeah.
It's just not there's no long-term gain there. I can see the short-term gain for sure. If you're trying to build up a bit of a profile and you're not really skilled in it, you want to take some learnings, you want to try it, and then realize it's shite because it's not you. A computer could never write the way that you or your personality could write.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in right and wrong, and if something feels wrong, then it's probably not right. And it, I guess that's a really
powerful
simple
stuff. That.
quote that. But what I'm trying to say really is that if you are commenting on people's LinkedIn posts using AI and you're creating all your content in AI, you're probably doing it for just personal gain. You're not trying to be social. You're not trying to be genuine and authentic and actually communicate who you are as a person and what your brand is and what you do as a person. And I guess it's the same when it translates to video as well. Like, yes, it's a useful tool. Like, yes, you can use it for storyboarding and some concepts, and it might be like, oh, this is the concept film just laid out in AI. But if it's just a prompt and delivery, I think it will always miss those little details that a human has, you know, in the pre-production process, in the production process, in the post-production process, making all of those dots connect. I don't believe it's possible with a prompt. Yes, you can create great visuals, but all of the thinking behind that is not going to be there if it's just a prompt.
Yeah. Ultimately, we're a service-based business. There's tons of video production companies in the UK and around the world, and trying to differentiate yourself from other companies is challenging. So you can either niche down or you can try to increase your service offerings. So that's kind of what we've done a little bit, is try not to take ourselves too seriously, have fun. So when clients come to us, they enjoy the experience of creating something. For them, it should just be a day out. Like, they should be getting the phone out, taking selfies. This was great fun. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
AI just takes away all of that. It's not an experience for anybody. It's not really achieving anything. And you're just going to end up looking like all your other competitors because the prompts won't be creating more unique content. It'll start to look very, very similar the more we see it. And if you can you type in, no, it's too similar to something I saw yesterday. Yeah. It's like, how's that going to work?
Yeah.
I think everything needs a human touch.
I agree.
How's affecting sort of paid media and SEO?
So there's, on the horizon in the UK, Google is going to be releasing something called Search Generative Experience. And effectively what that is AI generated answers for search queries on the search engine, which is going to massively affect how people engage with the search engine, how people like click through to clients' websites. So I know that it's been a little bit of a concern, but again, that's like scraping content that's being produced by people and companies to produce these AI generated snippets. So I know that they've kind of come into some kind of legal barriers because, again, it's just completely taking everything that people are writing about and repurposing it for AI purposes. So in terms of like content creation as well, we've seen a rise from like September. Google released an algorithm update that said that people can like curate content. So people have taken that very literally. They've produced reams and reams of AI blogs, and in March, Google wiped 40% of that off the search engines. So we're seeing a little bit of a backtrack because there's been so much like inauthentic, unhelpful content. So it's in the industry's in a little bit of flux at the moment because there's elements where people are using AI for efficiencies. They're concerned about how AI is going to impact how users navigate search engines. But ultimately, I think it's all about user adoption as well, because there's going to be so many people who are navigating search and searching for things that aren't going to want to engage with AI. They don't like, there's, I'd say, a lack of trust, particularly amongst like older demographics. You know, my parents wouldn't want to use AI. They wouldn't want to engage with that. And I think it's about understanding how users are actually going to adopt it in the future. So yeah, it's been a turbulent year.
It has. And I think it's quite interesting actually, and the whole development of AI confuses me long term, because I think AI is a little bit like compression. You know, you upload the same thing again and again and again and again, and it will get more blurry, more pixelated, you know, referencing video there. But I think if AI has learned from source material, which is human created, so videos, images, text, copy, articles, so on and so forth. In the future, when it's learning about source material and what's going on in the world in recent times compared to its old model, say 3 years ago, will it be then learning from itself? If everything on the internet is created, say over 50% created by AI, will it then get worse because the whole development of AI is compressed over the years? And that's an interesting factor to me, because it's like, if you're learning from humans, but then humans start to use AI, what will AI learn from?
You've just blown my mind a little bit there, Dave. That's it's a great point. Don't know. Answers in the comments.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's like, it might develop somewhere else, but I don't think it can genuinely rely on humans if it wants to survive going forward.
Yeah. I mean, the volume of content that's going to be coming out is just going to be disgusting. There's probably too much as it is. Like, I don't know if you've noticed when you try and watch a show and you speak to your friend about, I've just watched this amazing show. Have you seen it? They're like, no, I'm watching this other amazing show.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a conversation with people. Like, when there was 4 channels, we used to all just go, yeah, I watched that thing last night, and you could have a conversation about it. Now it's quite hard. Like, my list of stuff I need to watch is so huge.
Yeah.
You've got to curate your conversations with people. If that just increases because of AI is putting out more blogs, more pieces of content, and it's going to be, people are going to distance themselves from it.
Yeah.
Because they're going to want genuine human connection again.
Yeah. And that's when we turn off the internet and we all go outside and enjoy ourselves again.
Like, what's that sun over there?
Oh. Thank you so much for coming on, Carla. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. You're the first guest on our podcast, actually. And we aim to bring on a lot more people with different insights. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have you, and thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. That was a great conversation. Hopefully someone somewhere finds that helpful,
absolutely.
interesting. But I enjoyed it. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank
No
you very
problem.
much. And thank you everyone for listening. Like, rate and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on.
Man, I would love some sunshine in Manchester.